Acid reflux is a daily experience for some people, but only an occasional irritation for others. Acid reflux results from some of the acidic contents of the stomach returning or refluxing back up into the esophagus, sometimes entering the mouth. There are several major causes that allow acidic contents of the stomach to reflux into the esophagus. Let's look at these now. The primary cause of acid reflux is the failure of the lower esophageal sphincter muscle to close tightly enough and remain closed. The lower esophageal sphincter muscle circles the esophagus just above the stomach. It should contract and prevent the contents of the stomach from re-entering the esophagus. Here you see the stomach. Just above the stomach is the lower esophageal sphincter muscle, and above that the remainder of the esophagus. The lower esophageal sphincter muscle should relax only when food is ready to enter the stomach. It should remain constricted at all other times. Unfortunately, the lower esophageal sphincter muscle is too weak in some people to be totally effective in closing off the esophagus. This allows stomach contents to reflux into the esophagus. In some people, the lower esophageal sphincter muscle relaxes at inappropriate times. This also allows the acidic, partially digested food in the stomach to flow back up the esophagus. The next major cause of acid reflux is hiatal hernia. Here, the stomach, which should be completely below the diaphragm, partially protrudes above the diaphragm. The diaphragm is a curved sheet of muscle that separates the upper chest from the belly. When the diaphragm contracts, it pulls downward and your lungs expand, allowing you to breathe in. When the diaphragm relaxes, your lungs are reduced in volume and you breathe out. The esophagus passes through the diaphragm and immediately connects to your stomach just below the diaphragm. The lower esophageal sphincter muscle should be positioned right at the level of the diaphragm. This allows the muscles of the diaphragm and the sphincter to work together to close off the esophagus. Here you see a picture where the stomach is protruding above the diaphragm, and the lower esophageal muscle also is above the diaphragm. People with a hiatal hernia in the top portion of the stomach as well as the lower esophageal sphincter muscle are above the diaphragm. The sphincter muscle gets no help from the diaphragm to close off the esophagus. In people with hiatal hernia, the sphincter muscle works alone to seal off the esophagus. This seal is much less secure, and the opportunity for acid reflux is greater. The third major cause of acid reflux is a lack of complete peristalsis along the esophagus. Muscles, starting with the tongue and the mouth along the esophagus, contract in a wave pattern that helps force food down the esophagus and into the stomach. Here you see a diagram where there are contractions and portions of the food being pushed down into the stomach. These peristalsis waves serve two purposes. The first is to move food from your stomach, from your mouth to your stomach, and the second is to return any food escaping from the stomach back to the stomach. When the peristalsis waves do not function completely, there is a greater chance of acid reflux occurring. Now that we know what causes acid reflux, what are the effective treatments for acid reflux? There are basically two treatments, and the first are lifestyle changes that help avoid acid reflux. Among these are stopping smoking, avoiding certain foods, and reducing the pressure on your stomach by eating smaller meals or wearing loose clothing, and using gravity to help keep the contents of the stomach in the stomach by perhaps raising the head of your bed. The second treatment is with medications that help reduce or neutralize acids in the stomach, create foam around the stomach contents that helps prevent reflux, heals the esophagus, strengthens the lower esophageal sphincter muscle, or helps the stomach empty faster. For more information, please go to howtogetridofheartburn.bestdarn.info. That's howtogetridofheartburn.bestdarn.info.